How's it going, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Red Sox Rundown. I am your host, Jack Lauderwright. Thank you all so much for taking the time to watch this video. A little bit of a later video tonight. I had a video originally planned going over 8 Jarren Duran trade ideas that Bleacher Report mocked. That video is going to come out tomorrow. There was so much news and notes that came out today as the winter meetings are about to ramp up this next week that I was like, I just got to make a video on all of the news and notes. So we're going to have a bit of a news and rumors roundup today for you guys around everything, all the rumors and things that have come out over the past 24 hours. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because you're going to have videos the rest of the weekend, and then you're going to have videos all week, next week long as the winter meetings happen. Based on some of these notes that we got today and last night, the Red Sox are going to be active. And I tend to agree with that sentiment. You're not going to want to miss that. If you're coming over from the Garcia trade that went down yesterday, thank you so much for watching that video and welcome to the channel. Make sure you hit that sub button. I promise you, you will not regret it. Let's get to 8,000 subscribers as soon as possible. Let's start off with some notes from ESPN. Jeff Passan, Buster Olney had a bunch of news and notes today around the entirety of Major League Baseball, and there were some notes on the Red Sox. The two big notes from Jeff Passan are that they are going to spend on a big bat. Passan did not specify. This note was in relation to a Kyle Schwarber portion of the article, but I think big bat means a Pete Alonso, a Kyle Schwarber, a Bo Bichette, and Alex Bregman, is someone of that nature. Said a big bat, did not say multiple big bats, which again is kind of a concern to me. I think they should be going after at least 2, but it is what it is. And also, they have been discussing their outfield surplus with multiple teams. This is not a surprise. They need to, even after trading away the password, still trade away another outfielder from their surplus. Again, I think that Jarren Duran is the odd man out in this outfield, but Wilyer Abreu, I think, has probably also been in conversations as well. I don't think it's going to be Ceddanne Rafaela, but who knows? If someone wows the Red Sox, Ceddanne might be on the move as well. And then another one of note, this isn't about the Red Sox in particular, but this is about a potential trade candidate for the Red Sox. Buster Olney said a couple of front offices believe that Mackenzie Gore of the Washington Nationals is definitely going to be traded in the coming days. Of course, you've got the Paul Taboni connection. He left the Red Sox front office and took over as the head honcho for the Nationals. Could Craig Breslow call up his old pal Paul Taboni and be like, hey, what's it going to take to get Mackenzie Gore? I don't think that they're going to go after another starter, which does kind of concern me. We're literally about to talk about that in a second when we talk about the Johan Oviedo fallout from the trade yesterday. So I don't think they're going to go after another starter based on these reports, but you never know. We are in a very fluid situation right now. When they go into the winter meetings over this next week, anything can happen. If Breslow talks about Gore and the price is right, maybe Mackenzie Gore is a member of the Red Sox by the end of next week. I don't know. The Red Sox are not mentioned in that note about Mackenzie Gore, but it's something to monitor nonetheless. You let me know. Do you think the Red Sox will trade for another starting pitcher? And by that, I mean, will they trade for another, top of the rotation type starter? I think they think Johan Oviedo could potentially be a top of the rotation type starter. And I think they're pretty bullish on what they have in their rotation right now. But you let me know. T for trade, P for pass. Are they going to make a big trade for a starter? You let me know down below in the comments. Let's talk about some fallout from the Johan Oviedo trade. I do want to start by saying this. Upon reflection, upon getting all of the information, I actually don't hate the trade. I think that Johan Oviedo, if developed properly in the Red Sox pitching lab, which, as we know, if you buy into the development, you see good things happen. He could end up being a stud. He's got a lot of traits that the Red Sox absolutely love. His fastball is above average. His extension is elite. He's a big body starting pitcher. If he works out, he could be an absolute stud. We've got quotes from Rob Bradford and Craig Breslow here in a second, but I don't hate the trade. You're giving away Garcia, who, yes, is a loss. But, he didn't have a spot on the team anyway. His strikeout rate was way, way, way too high. So, I don't end up hating that trade at the end of the day. I know my short that I initially made, I was like, what the heck are they doing? But upon, getting all the information and all the facts, I don't hate that trade whatsoever. Let's get some quotes and some reactions. Rob Bradford had this on Johan Oviedo. He said they believe, the Red Sox, that Oviedo can be the kind of top of rotation pitcher that would cost a whole lot more than Garcia if already proven. Make no bones about it. They view Johan Oviedo as far from more than a depth option. And I think that that is an interesting, conversation to be had. If they believe that, if they believe that they can mold Johan Oviedo into being a stud, higher in the rotation starting reliever, does that make a Brayan Bello expendable? Does that make some of this other pitching depth, the Connolly early, a Peyton Tolley, expendable? I think it could. According to Sean McAdam last night in an article after the trade, he thinks that Brayan Bello is untouchable. I think if the price is right, most people are expendable. I think there are only a few people that are untouchable. I think it's Crochet, Anthony, but I think other than that, and like Chapman, but other than that, I think Rafaela could be on the table. If the price is right, I think most of these guys could be on the table if the price is right. So we'll see what happens, but that's an interesting thing to look at here is if Oviedo is being heralded as someone that can be a stud, then maybe a Brayan Bello, a Connolly early, a Peyton Tolley, some of these other top guys might be expendable this week for another big trade. Here's what Craig Breslow had to say. He spoke to the media a little bit today after the trade. He said, "We see Johan as a guy who was beginning to break out last year toward the end of the season. Unique fastball release characteristics and carry in his return from Tommy John. Sure, he hasn't put it all together in any form of a single dominant season, but that doesn't mean he can't or won't. We've seen enough to recognize he's got plenty of raw stuff, and at 27, there's development ahead of him." Okay, cool. Let's see if it works. They didn't give away a lot. Yostinson Garcia, top 5 prospects, so that is a lot. But again, he didn't really have a place on your team. So you didn't give up one of your big starting pitcher prospects or anything like that. So you didn't give up a ton for a guy that if they can develop him, 27 years old, some team control, if they can develop him, he could be a stud. And if Breslow sees that, I trust Breslow in terms of pitching development. We've already seen it. Peyton Tolley, Connolly early. Let's see how Kyson Witherspoon does this year. Let's see how some of these other guys that they drafted in the past, the 2025 draft do. The sky's the limit for this guy if they can develop him properly. A few more notes around this as well. Cooper Criswell, who was the 40-man casualty of this move, they were hoping he would make it through waivers. Unfortunately, he did not. He was claimed by the New York Mets. So congratulations to the Mets. They get a dog. They get someone that can eat a lot of innings. Congratulations to them, and thank you to Cooper Criswell. He was a very valuable pitcher on this team. On the taxi squad a lot, up and down between AAA and the majors. Had some good starts, had some quality appearances, and he will be missed. He was someone that I was very high on with his time in the Red Sox. And then one more note from Ken Rosenthal. He reacted to the trade on fair territory or foul territory. I always get them mixed up. He said, this is on the Red Sox. He said, they feel that they're pretty deep, and they've got more coming. I think he's talking about prospects in the system. I don't think he's talking about acquisitions because he says this. He said, I would be surprised if the Red Sox went after another starter. Again, if the price is right, I'm sure they will go after another starter. I don't think they have filled that number 2 starter spot yet. I could be wrong. They might think Sonny Gray is that. I disagree, but we'll see what happens. Anything can happen in the winter meetings. It's going to be a very interesting week, and I do think that the Red Sox are going to be very active because they have a lot of outfielders and a lot of starting pitchers. Those players are not going to all be on the team, I would expect, by the end of the week. I think trades are going to happen, and I think they're going to make moves. Again, that's why you should subscribe. A move that more than likely will not happen, and I think has pretty much is now dead, is Joe Ryan. And there was some reporting about it yesterday, but Ken Rosenthal kind of put the nail in the coffin. I think that the Twins are not going to trade any of their players. They are going to try to reload and get ready for this year because they think they can win the AL Central. Here's what Ken Rosenthal had to say. He said, the Twins do not anticipate moving center fielder Byron Buxton or right-handers Joe Ryan and Pablo Lopez, according to league sources briefed on their plans. Minnesota's goal is to keep those players, build around them, and compete in 2026. Rival clubs, the Red Sox included, interested in Ryan, Buxton and Lopez almost certainly will keep pushing to acquire them, as teams always seek to add high-end players. The Twins will listen, that's an important note, as clubs in their position are obligated to do, but it will likely take an overwhelming offer for any of the three to be traded. But that's why I said, I don't think it's completely dead, but I don't think it's likely. But I think the Red Sox are probably one of the best positioned. If you can, a Duran, a Peyton Tollier, Connolly Early, Franklin Arias, starting a package with those three players, the Twins have to be let's think about this. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. That's just mere speculation. But, an overwhelming offer, the Red Sox could make an overwhelming offer. Now, Ken Rosenthal did also say, in that quote I just talked about, he'd be surprised if they went after another starter. So maybe this is a trade deadline acquisition like we thought it was going to be this past offseason. I don't know. I'm still very bullish on Joe Ryan. I would be very excited if they traded for Joe Ryan. But as it stands right now, I don't think the Twins are going to do that. I think it would take a lot for Joe Ryan to be on another team in 2026. Will Joe Ryan get traded? You let me know in the comments section right now. Y for yes if you think he will, N for no if you think he will not. You let me know. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Last but not least, The Athletic, Ken Rosenthal again. And let me make sure I have the right sources here. Excuse me, I was not prepared for this. I do want to cite the correct authors of this article. But a lot has happened today, so I don't have those in front of me. It is Ken Rosenthal. I know he was part of it, along with Will Salmon. Yes, there we go. Ken Rosenthal and Will Salmon put out a big kind of preview, what we're hearing type article before the winter meetings. And there was some interesting notes on the Red Sox in here, mainly about Alex Bregman and Bo Bichette. Here is what The Athletic had to say. Said, retaining free agent third baseman Alex Bregman is a priority for the Boston Red Sox, which is a good thing. I think this is the first time we've actually heard that is a priority. We've heard a lot about Kyle Schwarber. We've heard a lot about Pete Alonso. But Alex Bregman being a priority is a good thing in my opinion. But some with the club view Bo Bichette, previously a division rival with the Toronto Blue Jays, as an intriguing alternative. So Rob Bradford was the first person to link Bo Bichette to the Red Sox. I've already talked about Bo Bichette a little bit on the channel. I did a short that found Toronto Instagram and absolutely pissed a bunch of people off for some reason. But I'd be very bullish on Bo Bichette. I would love him here in Boston. It's an interesting prospect because his defense isn't great. I've got another quote from The Athletic that I'll talk about here in a second. But offensively, he's got upside. He's 4 years younger. He's got a relatively the same WRC plus and just offensive statistics that Alex Bregman has had. So, he'd fit the bill. Would he be as good of a leader as Bregman? Maybe not. But you could figure that out elsewhere if you really needed to. The Athletic had some stuff about I know a lot of people are concerned defensively about Bo Bichette. Here's what they had to say, though. While Bichette's defensive metrics at shortstop are among some of the worst in the majors, some teams see him as viable at that position. But according to people briefed on his market, Red Sox Chief Baseball Officer Craig Breslow is on record as saying that Trevor Story will remain at short in 2026. If the Red Sox signed Bichette, Marcelo Meyer presumably would man third, and Bichette could play second. That would be awesome. I think that would be perfect. Trevor Story at short, Marcelo Meyer at third, Bo Bichette at second, and then Tristan Casas, Pete Alonso, whoever you want to put it first at first base. I think that would be a significant upgrade over your defense that you had last year. Bregman was good at third, but Marcelo, I think, is incredible defensively. Trevor Story, while he showed a little bit of regression at the end of the season, still plays a really damn good short. Bo Bichette's going to be better than anyone that played at second last year. And then, you get Casas back, or you bring in a Pete Alonso, or you bring in whoever. At first base, I think will be okay. I'd be perfectly fine doing this. Would I want Bregman back because you add that leadership value? Yes, but if he's going to go elsewhere, I think Bo Bichette would be a perfect addition to the Boston Red Sox. I'm not saying it's going to happen, though, because all the reporting that I've seen is that they're going to go after one bat. There was that one report from John Heyman, I believe it was John Heyman, that said they're going to get up to two, but that's the only report we've seen about them going after multiple bats. I would love to think that they're going after multiple bats. This quote from The Athletic that says that Alex Bregman is the priority, I think leads to them saying, yes, we need Bregman and we need to get a big bat. That kind of makes me think that like the big bat is different than Alex Bregman. But that just could be wishful thinking. I don't really know. We're going to see what'll happen at some point this week. Pick a player for me. AB for Alex Bregman, BB for Bo Bichette. Who would you rather have if you could only pick one? Probably still go Alex Bregman, but I'd be very bullish on Bo Bichette as well. You let me know down below in the comments. Once again, guys, before we get out of here, I'm going to ask you one more time. Please consider hitting that subscribe button. The winter meetings start this upcoming week. A lot's going to happen. I'm not saying everything's going to happen because, we've still got a few months left until spring training, but this is when every single person around the league is in one place. Trades are going to happen. Free agency signings are going to happen. This is when Juan Soto signed last year. This is when Max Fried signed last year. This is when Garrett Crochet got traded last year. Stuff will happen. And all of the reporting, the ancillary reporting that we didn't talk about in today's video is saying, buckle up. It seems like the Red Sox are going to be active. When they make moves, we will make videos. We did it with the Stinson Garcia trade. We did it with the Sonny Gray trade. I promise you, if a move happens, we will make a video. I want to thank you all so much for taking time to watch this video. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And until next time, go Sox.